No one wants to deal with death. After each trip, I want to go to the forest, shout, and stay alone. It feels like I went completely nuts,"
said Tatayana, the volunteer who has returned more than 80 bodies of Ukrainians to their families during the first 100 days of the war. The owner of a travel agency, Tetyana Pototska-Evchuk, has organized pilgrimage tours abroad for more than 10 years, including Greece, Pamukkale, and Cappadocia, and holy places of Israel. Now her car is a Cargo 200. A month after a full-scale war had started in Ukraine, a fragile woman, Tatayana, did the job which could hardly be handled by experienced men. She was returning the dead bodies of the fallen heroes from the battlefields to their families.
I came to the morgue and saw the packages with numbers. There were private things of the dead soldiers. I could hear the phones ringing. People were dead, but their relatives were still calling them. Once I was given a package with a number 924 on it. There was a child drawing with the text, "Dad, we love you and wait for you at home to come back victorious." It was the only thing left from that person. It was a real horror. I couldn't hold back my tears all the way from Dnipro to Lutsk.
Recollected Tatayana, wiping her tears away. She drove thousands of kilometers through gunfire, ruins, and destroyed roads. Every trip was like a scene from the movie The Apocalypse. Desolate roads, no people or cars, frightening silence against the background of explosions. Because of rapid attacks, even the Ukrainian military couldn't collect the bodies, as the Russians considered the Red Crosses a target.
When I was driving for the first time, I couldn't cope with what I had seen. Many unrecognizable bodies, because without DNA testing it is impossible to identify their remains. The sacks with the dead bodies pulled from the battlefield were torn apart. When we put the bodies in the car, the blood was dripping onto our legs. Terrifying memories.
Terrifying memories. There are many difficulties in the mission of Cargo 200. A tiring and long way without any stops, taking the bodies out of the refrigerator and bringing them to the morgue. But the most difficult task is the identification of the dead heroes, which was on the fragile shoulders of Tatayana.
It is hard to take the bodies to the morgue, but it is even harder to return them to their families. When people see my car, they kneel. Children, mothers, disabled people, the elderly with walking sticks. Once I was bringing the body of a hero to Lubomel and I was driving 20 kilometers on a road covered with flowers. I couldn't imagine where they had gotten all the flowers from, but the most difficult part is to give a body to a mother. She is looking at me with a plea in her eyes, as if I can change something,"
said the volunteer. Tatayana works with the enlistment offices. She tries not to communicate with the families of the dead. However, the relatives very often find her on their own. They are desperate and have no information. So they ask her to at least find the bodies of their sons and husbands so that they can bury them at home.
"What can I tell them? Once I was bringing 3 little children in one coffin. It wasn't allowed to open it because there were only the remains. What could I have told that woman? What should I have told that mother? I could have said to her, brace yourself. But brace for what? I could have said, I am sorry. But what would it mean for her if she would be burying her the dearest people? I don't know what to say. Usually I keep silent. Perhaps silence has more sympathy than any other words. Later I don't just cry, I wail."
Several times Tatayana had to postpone her trip because of the stress, physical pain, and her legs just gave up on her. The moment she felt better, she went straight to the battlefield.
Our war will only finish when we can bury the dead in their native city or village, not where they fell on the battlefield,"
said Tatayana. Now in Ukraine, there are more than 15 volunteer teams of Cargo 200, which as well as Tatayana became the angels of the final journey for the families of the dead, giving them the chance to say their goodbyes and bury their heroes.